It's time for ROTD Weekend. Are you feeling that hush, that nice calm in between Christmas and New Year's Eve? I honestly can't remember the details of what I told you last week. I know I told you that I was very busy and that I was looking forward to this time between Christmas and New Year's Eve, but I'm not sure if I told you that I'm going on a cruise during this time. I am, so as you listen, I am on the ocean somewhere in a big ship, hopefully laying on the pool deck, watching the waves go by, sipping on something amazing and feeling that hush that I deserve, that we all deserve right now before New Year's Eve hits and then the new year starts up. So this is going to be fun. I will tell you about it after. But yes, having New Year's Eve on a cruise ship, not something I've done before. I'm not even a huge fan of cruises, honestly. Not that I've done many, but I've done 3 in my life. One at age 16 with my brother, my parents, and both of my grandmothers. One when my kids were probably around 2 and 5, and then another one when they were in like middle school age. So those are my 3 cruise experiences. This one is just me and Marty and is going to be quite different, I think. Not that I don't love traveling with my kids, I really do. But yeah, the point of this one for me is to really just relax and not have to think. That's what I really want. No thinking. So I'm not going to think much more about this opening monologue. I know I usually talk for longer. I'm going to tell you I do have a brand new conversation for you, and you are for sure going to love it. I spent a lot of time thinking about this. I wanted to talk with somebody who has some like refined recipes and knows a bit about making a date night special for that New Year's Eve time. If you're doing it on your own with someone or a small group, this is just the perfect conversation. I am talking to Lisa Lotz from Garlic and Zest.com. She does specialize in many things, but one of her specialties is seafood, and in particular, oysters. And, you know, I love oysters. I eat them in restaurants all the time. Maybe I will eat some on the cruise ship as well, but I have never shucked one myself. I've never bought them. I don't know how to get them. I don't know what you do to cook them, or should you cook them ever, or always just have them raw. I do not know the answers to any of these questions, but oysters seem like a perfect celebratory food, and so having Lisa on to guide us through this very interesting ingredient seems like just the perfect thing as we lead into New Year's Eve. And so here we are, my conversation with Lisa Lotz from garlicandZest.com about oysters. Let's listen. Hello, Lisa. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am delighted to talk with you. I know that you are an expert in seafood recipes and celebrational special recipes too. And this episode is going live right before New Year's Eve. Okay, so first, I'm going to ask you, are you somebody who goes out and parties on New Year's Eve, or are you staying home?
I am such a homebody. I don't even think I'll make it till midnight. I never watch the ball drop, but we usually have some kind of festive, thing between my husband and I, and always champagne and usually some kind of exciting or, elevated bite to go with it.
That is perfect. I know my boyfriend, Marty, loves to go dancing on New Year's Eve. So we will probably be going out, but I think if it was up to me, I would be there with you. Mm-hmm. Maybe watching like a stand-up comedian Netflix special and sipping on champagne and
absolutely.
Yeah. And making something special about it. It's that like excuse to cook something nice. So do you have tips for making that evening special food-wise or drink-wise, even if you're not heading out somewhere?
So I would go with something that's just a little bit out of your regular comfort zone, something a little different than, the usual chips and dip or, what are those called? The crescent rolls with the cream cheese. So we're going to go a little higher end than that. And I love oysters. They are one of my very favorite things. I grew up on the Chesapeake Bay, so I'm very familiar with those Chesapeake Bay oysters, and we had them all the time. We did oyster roasts. We put them on the grill. We did so many things with them. My grandmother's oyster dressing was legendary. So I think what I would suggest is going with something that you're not cooking all the time, but makes it feel really special.
So
for me, that's oysters.
Okay, I have a million questions. So first, what is oyster dressing?
It's like a stuffing, but it's got oysters and oyster liqueur in it.
Like the liquid from the oysters?
Yeah, the liqueur. Yes.
And you serve that like at Thanksgiving with your turkey?
It's a must. You have to.
I have never heard of this thing.
Okay, well, check the website. I've got a recipe.
Okay, everybody. We are linking to Lisa's oyster dressing recipe. At first, I was thinking like salad dressing. I was like, what is that? No, this is like and it's not that you are stuffing the oyster. You are putting the oyster.
It is a side dish. It is made with bread like you would a regular stuffing. You know, the difference between stuffing and dressing is that stuffing is generally stuffed. Mm-hmm. And dressing is baked in a casserole. Mm-hmm. And so that's really the difference. But yeah, it's a really delicious, and I've put a little Cajun spin on mine. So.
Oh, well, okay. I have to check that out. And okay. So the other thing I want to know about buying oysters, I don't even have a clue. I have oysters in restaurants. I have never had an oyster in my home. Maybe a can of smoked oysters. I've had like a tin of smoked oysters, but I've never had oysters at home. I don't even know where to start in trying to find them or prep them or anything. What do you do?
Okay. So you need a good fishmonger. You're not going to go to, your local grocery store and get fresh oysters that you'd want to eat. So if you live on the coast, that's probably, a better option for you. Obviously, if you're in Virginia, you get those Chesapeake Bay oysters. If you're down south, maybe the Apalachicola, I think they are known for their oysters. And of course, New Orleans is. And, any place on the Pacific Northwest and the Northeast of the U.S., they're going to have fabulous oysters. If you don't live on the coast, you have to make very best friends with your fishmonger. Know them on a personal basis. And, so when you walk in, they know they're going to give you the good stuff, right?
Oh.
Or have a good place where you can source your oysters, like from one of those mail-in companies or mail companies. So from Virginia, there's a place called the Rappahannock River Oyster Company. I think that's what it's called. And I know this because my grandmother and my aunt and uncle would ship me about 2 dozen, 3 dozen, 4 dozen oysters every holiday because that's the way we celebrate. Mm-hmm. And so I'll get a bag of oysters and it's kind of a mesh bag. There is still like silt and dirt on the oysters. They come like that because you want them fresh. And then you just prep them, at home. And for the two of us, we'll eat a dozen oysters in a sitting. And that's a nice either appetizer or I've got other recipes where you can go really deep and do a whole meal with the oysters.
So you can order them and they come like cold but alive, I'm assuming? Is that?
They come in a, like a styrofoam cooler with dry ice or those freezer packs. Uh-huh. And you can keep them alive. I've kept them alive in my fridge for 2 or 3 weeks. And the way to do that is you take the entire bag of oysters and put them in a large bowl, take a dish towel like that, and you just run it under water, wring it out so that it's still damp and cover the oysters in it and just stick it in the fridge and they will live. Huh. If you are living in a colder climate, I live in Boca Raton, so this is not even an option for me, but in Virginia, we would just stick a bag or a bushel of oysters in the garage and it would stay for months.
Yes. So. I'm very familiar with the garage as refrigerator space growing up in Canada. Also the back patio as freezer space. And
love that.
Yeah.
The bonus being down here is you can put, a frozen steak outside for 10 minutes and it defrosts. So
that is true. Well, and we can grill very easily all year, which is I'm not going to complain ever about the weather here. I've learned even in the summer on the hottest day, I'm not allowed to complain because people have it worse on other days. So, okay, I have so many questions and we're supposed to be talking about New Year's Eve ideas, but I just want to hear more about oysters. So you said that you have ways to make a meal out of oysters. So I know of oysters as an appetizer and you just told us about the oyster dressing as a side dish. What is an example of a meal of oysters?
So I mean, you've heard of oyster po' boys, right? That's
Heard of, yes.
okay. So that's just fried oysters that you put on a hoagie roll and dress it with maybe a remoulade and shredded lettuce and tomato, any pickles or things like that. I think of oysters in the same way that you would shrimp, right? It's just the possibilities are endless. One of the things I grew up on was an oyster stew, which is not at all what you think.
Okay, what is it?
It's a soup made with milk, and you lightly poach the oysters and a little bit of their liqueur in the milk with, celery, onions. I mean, you saute and sweat the celery and onions, and then you add the other ingredients. And it's just a very simple, classic preparation that's wonderful with oyster crackers.
Okay, oyster crackers are not made with oysters. They're just shaped like oysters. Is that right?
They're just little hexagonal crackers that, the ones that you put in your soup.
I've always assumed that they did not have any oyster anything in them, but I thought this would be a good time to just verify that for sure. Okay, wait, do you have recipes for the po' boy and the stew on your site?
I have the stew. I don't have a po' boy recipe, but now I'm going to have to make one.
Yes, you should. That sounds really great. Oh, and anybody listening, I'm just going to let you know that I'm going to find the Rappahannock River Oyster Company online to link to as well. So if people are looking for a reputable oyster source, they will have it. Okay, now I know you also have on your website, in addition to the oyster stew, you have an oyster guide. What is in the guide?
So this is something that I give to my readers, and it's just a little, I think it's like 10 pages, but I call it the indispensable oyster guide. And it talks about how to store oysters, how to shuck oysters, how to clean oysters, what oysters are good for what things. And then, of course, links to a bunch of recipes to use them in.
Oh, I love that. So people, if they subscribe to your newsletter, that's how they get that?
Exactly. But I'm happy to share it with your readers too.
Okay.
Or your listeners, I'm sorry.
Well, I have both. Sometimes they even overlap. Hello, everybody who reads and listens. Indispensable Oyster Guide from Lisa. Okay, very cool. Now, do you have, I'm guessing it's oyster related, do you have a recipe to walk me through today that people could make for New Year's Eve?
So I was thinking New Year's Eve is high end. Let's go Oysters Rockefeller.
Oh, that's a wonderful idea. And okay, Rockefellers were like really, really rich people back in the day. So this is named after them.
It is named after them. So the idea is that you're rich as Rockefeller. And so the oysters are as rich as Rockefeller. And so you're using a lot of butter. You're using garlic. You're using shallots. There's fresh spinach. Although there's some debate as to what the green is for Oysters Rockefeller because there's a lot of different recipes. I use spinach. It's just, the easiest thing to access.
What else could it be?
Well, believe it or not, they did a mixture of like chives and chervil and watercress. And, there's a whole host of green things, green onions. I think spinach is just easier and probably more approachable than hunting down, 10 different spices and herbs.
So, and this is like a cooked oyster preparation, right?
It is cooked, yes. So anybody that's squeamish, this is good for that. And it's because they're cooked in the shell. So that's a beautiful, elegant presentation. And many people like to top their Oysters Rockefeller with like a hollandaise sauce or a béarnaise sauce. I like to add crunch. So mine is made with fresh breadcrumbs, not the panko, and I mix that with Parmesan cheese and Italian parsley and a little bit of butter, and you just blend it all into a food processor. And so everything chops up at the same time, and it's perfect for sprinkling over the oysters and the spinach.
When you say fresh breadcrumbs, you mean like you are just putting chunks of bread into the food, like fresh bread?
Fresh bread into your food processor. Nice. And adding the butter will chop up the butter and kind of coat the breadcrumbs as you're doing it. So you're not like running it through a hot pan with butter at the last minute. I just find this easier.
So cold butter so that it kind of chops.
Yeah, cold butter.
What a great tip. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do you start when you're making these?
So I think that the best way to do this is to have everything kind of a la minute, mise en place, ready to go. So for the oysters, you want to get those shucked, cleaned and shucked.
Does your guide explain how to do that?
It does, and I've got a video.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. Okay, hang on. I'm going to... On your website, there's a video for how to shuck oysters?
On my website, on the YouTube channel. Yeah,
Wonderful. Because I think that's where I get a little nervous about buying them. Okay. Is it hard to do if you've never done it before?
Just takes a little bit of practice, and you really should have the proper gear. So don't go at this with a butter knife, please. If you're planning on doing this for New Year's Eve, get on Amazon right now and order yourself some gloves, the oyster shucking gloves. They're actually just gloves that are resistant to, cutting, right?
Oh.
So you put the glove on your hand, and when you've got your oyster knife, which is a specific tool, it's not a knife. It's got a curved point that you're going to stick into the hinge. So you need those two things. And I highly recommend a dish towel as well, just to prevent it from splattering all over you. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's not hard. I would use 2 or 3 oysters as practice.
Okay.
And then just so you get the hang of it.
Oh, okay. So here's what I need to do. Oh, and Marty loves oysters too. So, because we've only ever had them in restaurants, or a friend of ours shucks them and we've had them at her place. But so what we should do is get out some of our favorite horseradish sauce and lemon juice, plan on our 12 oysters Rockefeller for the 2 of us, and get 4 extra. Practice on the 4 extra and use the horseradish and lemon and have those raw. And once we know we've got that, then we shuck the rest.
Yes.
Okay. It's a great
plan. You can do it. I know you can.
I'm excited.
So you clean the oysters, you shuck them, and when you're shucking, just run the knife underneath and in between the shell and the oyster to dislodge it, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's a little adductor muscle that holds it into the shell. And the other pro tip is make sure when you're shucking that the curved side of the oyster is facing down, because it's going to hold the oyster and the liqueur in it. If you do it upside down, you're going to lose everything.
That makes sense. And I'll say, I guess some restaurants are better at this than others, but when somebody hasn't loosened that underneath and you go to try and eat the oyster and it doesn't slide out, it's very disappointing, to the point where when I'm eating them in restaurants, I always go under just in case they've forgotten.
Yeah.
It's important.
The whole idea is that it slides down your throat, right?
Yeah. And if it doesn't slide out of the shell, then it's all pointless. You just get the horseradish or shallot vinegar or something going, or the hot sauce going down your throat. That is not good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we've expertly shucked our oysters and we've had our pre-samples and they're all shucked. What's next? What is part of the mise en place, I guess?
So the mise is arranging or getting your spinach mixture ready and then your breadcrumbs. And after that, it's really simple. So you're going to sweat some garlic and onions in some butter and oil. And when it's nice and fragrant, then you add the spinach. You cook that until it just wilts. I mean, you don't want to go beyond because you want it to have that bright green color. And if you cook it too much, it's going to be kind of a gray green. And that's not what we're going for.
And so you're using the fresh, baby spinach leaves here.
Yeah, I think that's worth it. And you know what? A bag of baby spinach doesn't make a whole lot. So it's going to make just enough for your dozen oysters, right?
It makes the tiniest amount.
It is. So you're going to season the spinach with a little kosher salt, some black pepper. And if you want to be traditional, you would go with a Pernod or some other kind of anise flavored liqueur. If you don't have that, I like to use some either sherry or white vermouth.
Okay. A dry sherry?
Dry sherry or the dry vermouth is good. Mm-hmm. Pernod, pastis, those are the traditional accompaniments. But you're only using maybe a tablespoon.
I love pastis is the drink in Marseille, France. Mm-hmm. And when we were there, it was a couple of years ago, but every day at the end of the day, everybody finishes work and that's what they go and have. And it was so fun. I don't even know that I loved the drink so much as I loved that there was this pastime.
You like the idea of the drink.
Yeah. The idea of this special time of day when everybody is doing the same thing. I really like that with the same drink. I mean, you don't have to, but it's pretty traditional and fun. Okay. So a little bit of anise liqueur in there. And then what is next?
So that comes together in about 5 minutes. And then the next part is your breadcrumbs. So you can take sourdough bread. You could use a country loaf. You could use plain white bread. Just tear it up, stick it in your little food processor, add a knob of butter, some fresh grated Parmesan cheese. And I like a little Italian parsley because that kind of, it gives that green color and continues those Rockefeller vibes.
Yeah. The money green. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just top each oyster with a little bit of the spinach and the breadcrumbs and you stick it in the oven. Doesn't take very long at all. Let me just check here on I've got a very detailed blog post about this.
I love the very detailed blog posts in the world. There are times when I just want to jump to recipe and just get the recipe, but there are other times, and this is one of them, where I don't really know very much, where I want to like dive in and make sure that I'm getting everything right.
Yeah. So we're cooking this at 450 for 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh.
And so what that's going to do is going to make your breadcrumbs really golden and crispy, which is, you want that contrast, but it's also going to cook through the oyster, and the spinach just like rests like a crown on top. It's fabulous.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. And okay, important question. Do these pair well with champagne?
They do.
Oh.
They pair very well with champagne or cava or sparkling wine, whatever you've got.
I guess, yeah, because the richness, the butter, a little bit of crispiness often goes with the sparkling too.
Yeah.
Seafood. Yeah, wonderful. Well, okay, I'm going to put the link to this recipe and all the recipes and all the things we talked about in the show notes for people, so they will find you for sure. But can you let them know where they should go online to find more of your recipes? Where's the best place, Lisa?
Absolutely. My blog is Garlic and Zest, and I've got social media at Garlic and Zest, and there's a YouTube channel as well.
Wonderful.
All Garlic and Zest.
All the same. Oh, that makes it so easy. Thank you. Wonderful. Everybody go and find Lisa online. So many great oyster and seafood recipes and more. You have a lot of other specialties
tons.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Lisa, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yay. So much great information. I don't know about you, but I feel ready to tackle this. I am putting it on my list for the new year. At some point, I'm going to order some oysters and give this all a try. I am going to link to all of the recipes that Lisa and I talked about, and to her oyster guide, and to the place to get the oysters from. All of that is in the show notes for this podcast episode. Thank you so much, Lisa. Everyone go and check out her site, garlicandzest.com. Now, this is the time that I usually talk about what I'm cooking this week, but I am not cooking, I am cruising. So that is that. I will tell you just for a moment about my favorite way to do New Year's Eve if I'm just staying home with someone and we don't have plans. What I really like to do is to get a nice bottle of champagne or sparkling wine, definitely have that for midnight or for as late as I'm going to make it to stay up, and then I like to do a meal around appetizers and kind of stagger them through the evening while watching stand-up comedy specials. Yes, that is one of my favorite things to do for a quiet special date night or New Year's Eve night, is find some Netflix comedy specials that I have not seen before and have some yummy appetizers kind of prepped and ready, and then sort of halfway through each special or at the end of one, go and finish making it, bring it to the TV and munch on delicious, cheesy, amazing things while laughing my head off. Yes, I love that. Oh, I think I did tell you that I was going to see a stand-up comedian the other day. We went to see Fortune Feimster at the Hard Rock Live at City Walk at Universal Studios. She was fantastic. I laughed so hard. I love Fortune. She makes me laugh. So if you are looking for someone to make you laugh, that might be a special to check out, Fortune Feimster. And I will tell you, one of my favorite decadent appetizers is my garlicky red pepper baked brie. So many times you get baked brie at this time of year, especially with all kinds of like pecans or cranberry or sweet things, maple, all of that on there. Great, wonderful. But instead of that, this one has lots of garlic and red pepper, and it's just so good. I had almost forgotten about it. I won't say I'd forgotten about it, but you know what? Marty doesn't love brie, so I don't make this very often. When I was visiting my family a little while ago, just a few weeks ago, I was up in Manitoba, and my sister-in-law, Ange, made this brie recipe, and I was like, oh my God, I haven't had this in so long. It is so good. Thank you so much. It was amazing. So I will link to that for you if you are looking for just that over-the-top, cheesy, amazing thing to eat while having a New Year's Eve party or while watching stand-up comedy or whatever you're doing on New Year's Eve. I will link to that one for you. So good. I am also going to link to a page for you called 12 Days of Dip. If you were following me on social media, you saw that once a day for 12 days leading up to Christmas, I was doing a dip recipe every day. All of those links are in one place. So if you are looking for an amazing dip to make for a New Year's Eve party or to take to some kind of like potluck party or anything like that, there are 12 delicious dips there that I know you will love. And yes, my broccoli cheddar pickle dip is one of those, and it needs to become a sensation. We need to make it go viral because it is just so freaking good. I love it so much. Broccoli cheddar pickle dip. I know, right? Okay, so I will link to the 12 days of dip for you as well, and all the links to those dip recipes are there for you. Great little framework for your New Year's Eve celebration. You know, if you've got a great dip, you've got a great night, right? So yes, I guess I'm not cooking this week, but I've given you some ideas for New Year's Eve, and I will say we do have a recipe going live this week, but it's not exactly celebratory. Maybe good for this kind of little break when things are slowing down and you don't want to do a lot of effort. It is for air fryer chicken tenderloins. So good, so easy. I do love these. I get them, every month or so. We do the air fryer chicken tenderloins, and they're just juicy and tasty, simple, easy, really great little dinner hack. I don't know if it's a hack, but I find it really easy. Is that what a hack is? Something really easy? I'm not sure anymore. Okay, well, this is the second last episode of Recipe of the Day for 2025. I will be back on December 30th with some champagne punch recipes, so stay tuned to that. You know what? I'll link to those in the show notes for you too, in case you're planning your New Year's Eve and you want the punch recipes. So I will link to those for you, but I will be telling you about them on the 30th. And then, end of 2025. I hope you've had a delicious, healthy, and wonderful year. And after December 30th, champagne punch recipe, I will be back the following Saturday in January to welcome in the new year. But what I really want to tell you about is the week after that, on January 10th. I have Mike Costio back on. I don't know if you remember him. I've had him on a couple times. Brand new conversation. He is somebody who specializes in trends in restaurants and in cooking magazines, what he's seeing across the country, in the world, what we can expect to see in 2026 at restaurants and beyond. So he is joining me on January 10th to talk about all of that. So that is a great way to start the new year as well. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Lisa Lotz from garlicandzest.com, for all of that great oyster information. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, cookfor2.us, and this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great weekend. Let's get cooking.